that is it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for being so many people reorganizing of not much notice about that. Fantastic. Then I'd like to introduce Professor Lise Andersen and Dr. Marko Ocepek, that's right in the back, and his family, Susan and Eva. They're part of our Norwegian family that left behind. Lise, it's been a collaborative. You see that Hog Genius in the National Geographic movie, the two of us are there. I mean, we've been part of this exercise together. But Lise has a master's degree in ethology and one in animal science, correct? In a PhD. Her PhD was in ethology, in animal welfare. And Marko is also a PhD in ethology. But Lise, she's a professor of animal behavior and animal welfare also at the Norwegian University of Life Sciences in Oslo, in Norway. And in her studies, she's done a lot of work looking at sow housing during pregnancy and lactation, and probably she's been the person that published the most on maternal behavior in sows, with the help, of course, of many students that work with her. And then Marko, that's sitting in the back, did also a lot of work on sow longevity, and both are now involved in a project looking at positive emotion in farm animals. That's the reason why they're working here with us, because when we in Norway together, we discussed, we wrote things together in positive emotions, and when she started the project, decided to come to Brazil and develop plans positive emotion. And she also led a work package on the AUIN project that I coordinated, and looking at prenatal environment, early environment, and animal welfare. Then she's with us for another 2 weeks, a week and a half, and I wish we would talk. And thank you for coming. And if you have any questions later, we can ask her. And we also would make available her email address and Marko, then we can communicate. And Norway is a good place to go for a very nice.
Having me here, I'm very pleased to come and talk for you. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Portuguese, so but I have to speak English. But if I speak too quickly or if something is not, you don't understand, then you just tell me. Okay? He just introduced me, so I don't have to say anything more. This is from my home and my 2 horses. I have 3, some chicken, and a couple of dogs at home. Just a mess. My topic is animal emotions and farm animal welfare. I will emphasize a more functional approach, that emotions really have a function for animal behavior and how they survive and reproduce, not just the mechanisms behind it. I guess if you have enrolled as a teacher, you know everything about the stress system and the stress physiology and how the brain works. So I don't have to teach you about that. He's a better teacher than me in that topic. But before we start talking about positive emotions, I'd like to pay attention a little bit to the stress model of Moberg. It was developed in 1999. And there are lots of models after that. But what I like about this model is that it is it can be very easily used and understood by a lot of people. And we all know that the animal has to recognize a threat to homeostasis, and we all see a homeostasis as a goal, maybe. We know that how animals respond is depending on a lot of things, and the prenatal and the early postnatal environment is very important. It's not listed here. Learning experience is important, and then we have genetic predispositions for certain behaviors. and how we cope with the environment. Age, physiological state, season, etc. is important for how we recognize and how we deal with stressors in our environment. So we have a stressor, and then we have a biological response. And the animals can adjust the situation through their biological response, either through their behavioral responses, or maybe hormonal or physiological responses in general. The immune system is involved. And if the animals handle this threat to the homeostasis, then it doesn't affect the reproductive system, or it doesn't affect the production. But if we come further down in the stress model, then we see that the normal biological function is changed. And if this is altered, then the vets come in and they see pre-pathological states and development of pathology. But the behavior is interesting because behavior is the most immediate response that the animal shows when it's getting out of balance. So that is also a model to show you that if you work with welfare, it's very important to have a multidisciplinary approach. We need people that know about nutrition, we need the geneticists, we need the veterinarians, we need ethologists, because we all approach the topic in a different way. So the ones that acknowledge that, they are the most successful in the animal welfare work, I would say. So, you know probably more about strategy through your education than me. So I'm going to say enough of negative stress. Is there an anti-stress axis? Is there? Have you heard about that in your education? Mm. The thing is that we make all these models of stress, frustration, and how animals are affected negatively. But there are not many models of anti-stress and positive side in the literature. Although there are, in recent years, they have done quite a bit of work on positive emotions and how we can stimulate animals in a positive way. Because there is a biological system complementary to the fight-flight system that can be characterized with pleasure, relaxation, balance, positive social interactions. And that is not an aroused state, but a state of kind of no tension relaxation. And I think we should look more into that system. It's also characterized with relaxed muscles, reduced cortisol, reduced cardiovascular activity, increased activity in the gastrointestinal system. We do know that if we are stressed in a long time, then we put on weight, especially around this area, which is not good. So the best way to get slim is to relax, in fact. It's a good thing. Parasympathetic system is activated, the HPA and SMAM system is turned off, and oxytocin is the agent that mediates these effects. And this lady here, she's been working a lot about this bond between mother and young in the birth process. So oxytocin is injected during birth, when you touch somebody and when you have nice social relations. It increases the bonding between individuals. It also involves in the uterine contractions during birth, ejaculation of milk, and these things. Orgasm, a lot of positive interactions. And both men and women have this hormone. And if you touch somebody or massage, then you inject oxytocin, endorphins, and also testosterone, in fact. And if you look at some studies in rats, where they have injected oxytocin, it's documented that they have lower level of stress hormones, increased healing process of wounds if they have wounds somewhere, reduced inflammation, higher pain threshold, increased weight, more efficient uptake of nutrients in the gastrointestinal system, lower heart rate and blood pressure, and reduced muscle tension. They also show increased learning ability and cognitive skills. For instance, they are able to use a more creative problem solving. And not the least, increase the number of positive social interactions. It's shown in other species as well, and they have lower level of fear. And it also improves nestling and maternal behavioral traits. So it's a lot of interesting facts of oxytocin, and it can be a very interesting model for studying the anti-stress system. So back to welfare. We have many ways of defining animal welfare, and there are many different approaches depending on what discipline we come from. Some people would like to have animals living in a more natural setting, showing all the natural behaviors that is represented in the behavioral repertoire. Some would like to put emphasis on biological function, like production, reproductive success, etc. And in recent years, we have put more emphasis on emotions. But I'd like to support the definition of Grupo, because he never meant to exclude emotions. I think we cannot exclude biological functioning from the topic. If you look only at emotions and behavioral expression of emotions, then we could say that an animal with cancer, serious cancer, has good welfare if it doesn't show any symptoms of pain. So I think, at least in my view, it's better to include on physical state at any time, situation, and environment, which is more or less what Grupo defined in 1986. I think the other definitions that have come later doesn't add too much to this definition, actually, but that people can disagree on that, of course. But we need to use a definition, and it's very important to use the right definition, or to know what kind of definition you use, because this is going to affect how you approach things experimentally, and how your understanding of the state of the animal. So what is the goal then? We talk about animal welfare, we talk about mental and physical state of the animal. What is the goal? Is the goal that it should be free of disease and not have pain? Is that the goal? No pain or stress? Or is it a emotion? Have some boost of happiness during the day? Is that the goal? Or is it just that they should be in some kind of homeostasis, a neutral state? What is that? A relaxed state. What does it take to make you happy? Do you need food? Is it okay to have just food, water, and what do you need more to be happy? And how many times a day do you need to be stimulated to call yourself happy? You could ask the same thing in animals. And since we're so bad at analyzing our own lives, it's not so difficult to understand that we have problems with finding out what we have to do with the animals. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what makes a pig happy. But still we don't know how many times do a pig need rooting material, and how much nesting material do a sow need to become a good mother. So there are still systematic things to do to know, to be sure that we are talking about good welfare. And I think this has been discussed to a little extent. When we talk about welfare, we also talk about elastic and inelastic behavioral needs. And inelastic means that the animal is willing to pay a high cost or effort to satisfy this need, and therefore has a high motivation to achieve the goal. So this is taken from economical models, actually. It's really interesting to look at cost benefits of behavior, because behavior has a function. It has some cost and it has some benefits, and that's where the animal makes the decision. That's how I look at it. And if you look at the behavioral ecology models, they use this approach a lot. And elastic means that the animal is not going to pay a great effort to achieve this goal or to perform this behavior. And that means that the inner drive, maybe, to achieve this is not so great in this case. For instance, this picture is taken from the campus of Barcelona. And it's a very ideal setting for young foals or young horses to grow up because they can interact socially. They have enough space to develop their motoric skills. They eat together at the same time synchronously. They can learn from others that are present. And they can groom each other. They can learn how to solve conflicts. And these individuals will probably be better at adjusting to a new social setting later in life. So what you do early in life is going to be very preventive later on. It's going to make them socially more flexible. And for instance, in horses, do we have examples of inelastic and elastic needs? Social contact is maybe the most inelastic need for horses. It's a very, very highly prioritized need, and if you don't satisfy that, if you read the previous book, he says that social isolation is probably the one most important source of chronic stress in horses. And then we have all sorts of symptoms of that later in life. Whereas if they are, do they have the same problems if they're not put on pasture? No, maybe not. If they have access to hay, free access, or if they can eat continuously during the day, they may not have that. That may be an example of a more elastic need. And also the need to move, and the need to move freely in a large space in horses is more, or in farm animals in general, is motivated. It's a goal-seeking behavior. It's motivated to find water, food, or to have social interactions. So that's also a more flexible need than social contact. Social contact is not flexible. That's a highly prioritized need in horses. And for sows, for instance, the need for nested material is another example of a more inelastic need. So if you want to satisfy behavior needs, sometimes when we are dealing with production systems, we have to prioritize. And that is very important to prioritize according to the need of animals. Maybe we cannot satisfy everything, but then we have to look at what is the most prioritized need. So this guy, Charles Darwin, 1872, he actually wrote a book in 1872 about emotions, and the title was Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals. So he kind of accepted or assumed that animals had emotions, whereas we've spent decades to discuss whether animals have emotions rather than starting working with it. Because we think that is good traits for humans. If we talk about emotions in farm animals, many people have said, oh, you cannot give animals the same traits as humans. But of course, we have some challenges because we have a wide range of species and there are a wide range of conditions. So if you want to assess the state of the animal on the individual basis, it's of course very difficult in this crowd. And maybe if you move to another system, we also have fish as farm animal species. And how can you assess welfare of individuals here? Well, maybe we have to take out samples. Maybe we are looking for new video technologies. We have in our department now a project called the Digital Salmon. And we have we're looking at farm systems now where we can model animal movements in the system and these things. So we are looking for totally new technologies, and the fish industry in Norway, they are really, really moving forward in this direction now. So it's very interesting. Because we have no reason to think that these animals are less complicated than farm animals. And until we do know that, we cannot treat it differently. That's my opinion. So, sense and sensibility, this is just some popular way of looking at it, but and we like this cow from the campus and it's in Unga because She was very gracious, and we found out that she was the most dominant in the herd. But do they, or are they complementary decision making? Because people think that we have when animals or humans have to make important decisions, it has to be cognitive. We have to think about it, and I think you would be surprised how many times we have to make quick decisions that we're actually using our gut feeling or emotions to decide. You feel bad about this, so I don't do it, or I feel good about it, so yeah, I make it right. If you have to make immediate decisions, you do this. So modern psychology has accepted that emotions and cognition interact with behavior both in animals and humans. Whereas we who work with animals, we have been more critical actually. Psychologists have noticed this for a longer time than we have. Yeah. And there was a psychologist who wrote this paper in Applied Animal Behavior Science in 2009. I think it's a very good paper, you should read it if you're interested in the topic. He said that animal pleasure and its moral significance, yeah, that was the title. He said that evolutionary principles predict that animals like humans are motivated to seek rewards and not merely to avoid pain and suffering. Otherwise, we couldn't have, when we have competition between species, then they wouldn't have evolved to eat different sources of food and seek out new areas. Like we have niches in Ireland and these things with finches and bird types that develop different beaks to eat different sources of food. And he said, in the conscious sentient animal, the drive to secure food, shelter, social contact, and mates are motivated by desire, which is the behavior, and reinforced by pleasure, which is the consummatory behavior. And most research until now has been focused more on the pleasure phase of emotions. And then, of course, the next discussion. What?
It's just
and then, of course, we spent another decade to discuss how can we say that animals have emotions. We don't want this to be very critical. It's dangerous because if animals have emotions, then can we eat them? Yes. There's a lot of questions that goes to our ethics. I think that I know have had a good life, but people are different. But this is a kind of dangerous topic. Share of feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and emotions. And self-consciousness can be defined as the ability to subjectively realize your own unique ability to think and feel, and why. But the thing is, if you look at human behavior, also there are quite a lot of evidence that we are making decisions based on emotions, and not that the cognitive system is involved. For instance, consumer behavior has shown, there are quite a lot of research shown that, for instance, if we use citrus scents in the stores, people stay there longer and buy more. But if you ask them afterwards, they would know why they stay there more and buy more products in that specific store. And that's because, oh, you feel well. Music, and music is another example. Nature, why do you feel, why do you make other decisions? You feel the other emotions will affect your decisions. And also, if you have a positive attitude, I will come back to that person, you have a lot of humor, you expression of satisfaction or pleasure is larger than if they do not. It's been shown in pigs and others. So, do animals have pleasure? Do we really want to know if they have it? Well, there are some evidence that they do have pleasure. For instance, in play, they showed expression of pleasure. They also show physiological responses. Emotions too. Touch is another thing. And okay, sweet and nice. So I'm not the only one who likes sweet things. But then we have a lot of other things that we need to look systematically into. So what about emotions? In response, it can also be an answer. It can be positive or negative. But what we do know is that it's clearly related to behavioral and physiological changes and also to activity in certain parts of the brain. That is the topic that Adolfo can focus on, not me. It motivates behavior, and we can also list a number of functions, or we can say it in different ways. We can say this is an information graph, I'm sorry, it's a or warning light for the animal if you have to make immediate decisions. So what we can say in general, so play an important role. It plays an important role or reward, avoiding danger, action, and it's very important during communication and learning. And it affects how information is perceived or interpreted. It is important during collaboration and bonding in social groups. So what is that? It has a role in most in life, in fact, also for animals. But if you look at emotions and functional aspects of it, we can say for simplicity that emotions have 4 components. One is the cognitive component, which has to do with the perception, memory, learning, etc. The next one is the autonomous or physiological component that can more or less be measured. And then we have the behavioral component. And then we have the subjective component, the feeling itself. And we show those 4 can be measured. We show those 4 can be measured, we think. In a secure way. Yeah, this we can measure. We are more we have yeah, we can measure. What about this? Measure, yeah.
Very difficult.
You look happy to me, but I mean, I don't know what's going on in your brain. Say to me that I can request what the psychologists do, but you know that it's more variation than that. So we never get 100% insight into how you really feel. But by measuring these 3 components, we can get close to the 4th one. And that's the open choice we have. So why spend another 10, 20 years on discussing consciousness when we can start with those 3 arguments? We have another term called affect, and that is the outward expression of emotions, which is more like behavioral, physiological. You can say that it's pleasant or unpleasant. It varies in intensity. For instance, here, the 4th components, the perception, evaluation, processing, physiology, and the adrenaline, or body muscle, the active state. Okay, and we can say that by measuring that, oh, this dog probably has a high level of fear. We can look, if you want to look at behavioral indicators, we can look at body postures, body language, ear, tail movements, facial expression. Eye white is quite often also an index of degree of frustration. If the eye white shows not from eye white, then it's been shown in cows and also in horses. Vocalizations, freezing and fear responses, avoidance, approach, exploration, play, active, passive. a lot of it, so we get all the good from that. Not in a negative way, but they have chronic stress. Especially some type of geographies where, for instance, years courses that have done for many years, you come to the more pathological state in the stress zone, as I showed you in the beginning. Because then the irreversible changes in the digestion system, and there are irreversible changes in the brain, structural changes that they have distinct functional behavior. We can do things behavioral tests. We can also look at how this affects positive states and we have about animals. And exploration is important, especially in the explore even in the absence of food, for instance, with objects that can be manipulated, for instance, in games. It is self-rewarding and it initiates positive mental state. And it's been also shown that cognitive enrichment for pigs, meaning making them work for food through a learning task, and it resulted in less fear and development in young pigs that are really early, resulted in greater activity level and more exploration in young pigs. So they like to have cognitive tasks, they like to be challenged with learning tasks. So how can we do that in a commercial setting? That's one of the challenges. How can we design an environment with them with challenges in everyday life? We also look at the positive expectations, and that is behavioral and emotional expressions in the situation what the animals expect. For instance, punishment can be a positive expectation, and then we assume that it needs to be pleasure or or in a commercial setting, maybe a lot of the aggressiveness is as a big fair component. Brain structure activated among others, especially negative emotions or recognition of emotional expressions. Septum is also connected to pleasure. And then, of course, the hippocampus memory is very important. And most very easily memorize or remember positive treatments. They also remember negative ones and want to avoid them. And that's also why positive reinforcement is such a good way of learning in a more way. And if you don't reinforce by treats, by using treats, for instance, if you want to learn production. Could be that we earn more money if we stimulate them positive. Maybe the meat tastes better, or maybe it's more. Yeah, we don't know. Not much research has been done on that. But what we do know is that from the human side, people that are more positive, laughter, have humor, positive attitude, it's been shown in hundreds of papers that these people recover faster from cancer, lifestyle-related diseases. We don't hear about it from the doctors, but it's a lot of publications on that. And I was very surprised when I started looking at this topic in animals. I looked at the human side and found so many interesting things I never heard about. If that is the way we should live, we should make ourselves more happy. Do things that make us happy, and maybe we should do that for animals too. Maybe it makes our lives better and that we live longer. I think so. So in pigs, for me, it would be easy to know what to look at, because I've been working with pigs since '94, so I think I know that species pretty well. But if I was to start working with another species, then I would have to go through a lot of building up competence before I could study these things. In a recent postdoc project, this is Marko's postdoc project, and I'm involved in that. We look at how not early wean, but wean piglets respond to different rooting material. And then we compare control situation with no rooting material with straw, silage, and peat. And another treatment is that we combine those three, straw, silage, and peat, because they have different qualities. They can eat more silage, perhaps, but and the straw can be manipulated more, maybe, and this is long-term straw. But peat has more the quality of earth. It resembles earth, so they can dig and do other things and maybe wallow better in peat than the straw. Whereas straw is more suited for nest building. So what we saw here, that is, if we, to make a long story short, then the combination of the three rooting materials given twice a day gave much more positive responses, less responses. And this way we can conclude that, okay, if we give a combination of those three, we have less aggressive behavior, we have less ear and tail biting. They manipulate more in the highest. They have the lowest social contact is often good, but if it leads to conflict and ear chewing and tail biting, it's not so good. So it's shown that if they have other things to do, they don't direct so much attention to helminths. And tail, to say, and pigs, if you notice, they wag their tail quite often if they are happy and have good things to do. Whereas the tail hanging down between the legs is not a good indicator. So the tail wagging was most pronounced in the peat and combo group. So this is a way we can work on positive emotions, for instance. So what are the welfare consequences of positive emotions? Not much done in this, in fact. And veterinarians, they it's very interesting to look at the immune system and how this is affected by positive stimulation. I mean, if we could do that, then maybe we don't need as much medicine, or we can reduce the cost of veterinary treatment. We can work preventive instead of diagnosing diseases and just give medicine for that. It's much more exciting work. Yeah, like I said, in humans, it's several hundreds of papers on this in humans. And also it's been shown in pigs, in fact, that success in performing specific problem-solving tasks made pigs recover faster from surgery. So they measure wounds, and it heals faster if pigs have a problem-solving past. And then you could use our experiment, boost them with the rooting material, and we could do, for instance, castrate pigs and see how the boosted ones or stimulated ones are different from the. You can look at bones, and that's a kind of veterinary problem that can be studied. So the next question is to protect some welfare. That is something we don't know yet. We have how many times a day do they need to be stimulated? What sources of stimulation do they need? And how big doses of positive stimulation, how many times per day or week? These are things that in most species we have to go through a systematic method. Oh. And the final thing I'd like to say is that what are the practical implications for housing design, handling, or training of animals if we consider these things? How can we design a housing system that is more stimulated? For horses, I'd like to mention the active stable concept, where they move like 15 kilometers a day, because the roughage, water, resting area, you have to move between them. Maybe because there's one go through a gate to get to the next point, so you're actually forced to go and to move more. And in that system, it's easier to satisfy the basic need of the horses, and they will get more calm, for instance, not so stressed. Especially also because they can stay in a group. But of course there are challenges with this system, especially when you introduce new animals into the system. And but this can be overcome. It's not like, we cannot have animals together because they fight and blah, blah, blah. It's because we don't understand it enough. They need more space, or we need to design the environment in a different way. And we have gone through this in cattle and pigs, so we know that loose housing systems in Norway, for instance, work really well for pigs, so why not for horses? Yeah, and another system is a farming plan that we have developed in Norway, where we are giving them hay rack so that they can study material in a nest area, and no creep area that separates the piglets from the mother, because the mother is supposed to be there to increase the survival, not the vice versa. So this is I don't have to give you the details. I can give you them later if some of you are interested. But the basic thought was to stimulate the sow so much that the farmer did not have to interfere that much in the birth, and still have good production results. We didn't think too much about the piglets. We thought about the mother. How can we stimulate the mother to take care of her young? And I think we should think that way. And also because in this system, labor is costly. So if the sow can do much of the work herself, then the farmer can do other things. So it's just a way this is also from a commercial herd that has now built this system. It's a total farm. We have to wait doing that. We just have to start working on the positive side of welfare, not only on the negative side. Talking to that now for the farmer. Afterwards. So I think thank you for your attention.
much higher level of cortisol, but it wouldn't be also lower. I want
Yeah. Because I think you can also expect a positive effect in those that have a low torque. Those that are really bad station takes circulating cortisol. Because state, or are you on the positive side? The goal again. It's also, I don't know if you read the zebras. Well, accepting and get this chronic stress situation that the animals don't handle things over a long time period, or people don't handle their work over a long time period. These things. Oh, no, I lost my direction. Where were I?
I think you're correct in a sense that cortisol, when it's high, it could be you're solving something or you're reading the.
I'm back on track.
Sorry?
I'm back on track.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm back to the zebras. Because if they haven't had a really high level of cortisol, I mean, they wouldn't. It's a good thing. And if you want to perform on stage, you need a certain level of well. So it's not like stress is something non-functional. It's just that when we put it in an environment, they want or satisfy their pain, the high level of cortisol is negative. But it doesn't level of cortisol gives pleasure to that. I mean, if you are happy, perhaps. It's a question of how pleasant you are, I guess. I don't know if that was an answer. Complicated. I'll draw this something.
Just like the technology way that is promoted this event, and I'm very grateful it gets to a point where pleasure is no longer possible when we are currently stressed, and then that possibility too. Even this stress actually does not respond anymore. You get to a point where you're up to the limit, and you test the stress axis of an animal, you're not going to see any responses. And at the same time, that cortisol is low, and you're unable to feel pleasure. Excessive or chronic depression-like states.
For instance, this donkey, males, I forgot to mention, males in the production system are often forgotten. So they are very little stimulated. They are isolated, have very little space, or no stimulation at all. And then you may have this response as this donkey have. There it was. No matter what we did here, and didn't we even respond to our president? He was not interested in whatever we did. It was just done like this. I've seen that in horses in stable too. And or you could try to interfere if a sow is bar biting. Go back and forth, and you try to stop her. Well, does she usually get it? Just try to have you for good biting. They get aggressive. So it's very interesting. So if you have a high enough level of stress, I think it's difficult to interfere with giving more pleasure, or it takes more time. Program the brain, because the brain is kind of stimulated to do this because it's self-rewarding, and it's actually making the animals cope more than the opposite. Yeah.
I think the brain of the animals do the same of the brain of the human, that sometimes needs some drugs to stop the sick cycle of thinking the same thing again and again. Perhaps there is not just external stimulation, but some stimulation, chemical stimulation. Something to think about it.
And that's why also people that are really highly depressed, they need some drugs to kind of change the program in the brain. And I guess if that's also good that we have plasticity in the brain, even for adults. But I don't know how this works with a horse, for instance, that has done this good biting for most of the life. I don't know, because it's very difficult to change 100%, maybe 80 or 90 you can do it. But because they have done it so long, then it's very, very hard.
Ninguém mais, gente? Não? So we want to thank you so much for doing it.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
It's our pleasure.
Oh, nice.
Among our group of study. And
Oh, my God. Says nature is cruel, I think I would say nature is honest. Yeah.